the 24-hour rule you and just like kind of flushing the game at 24 hours after it happens. Why is that important to you specifically?
I mean, for a win, or for a loss, for a draw, for whatever it is, it gives you enough time to process the tape, figure out what corrective mistakes, what corrections need to be made from your mistakes made in the game. From the good plays, it gives you a little bit of reprieve, saying, hey, this is the positive of the game. But at the end of the day, it's all about striving to get better. So whether it's positives or negatives, there's always a chance that you can get better in each and every play. And these are something you have to focus on. 24-hour rule lets you, get your emotions out from the game, lets you get your mindset and focus towards the next game. So 24-hour rule has been a thing that I fully bought into probably, 9-10 years ago at this point, out of this 11-year career, and really gives you the calm of knowing that this is a 17-game season, 18-week season. But this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you can't have this emotional roller coaster. It has to be a calm, steady, this is what we got to do to attack the game plan each and every day, each and every week.
There's like a couple of things I kind of wanted to ask you about within that specifically. What does it take to kind of to legitimately buy into that and actually kind of believe in this, and that rather having it just be like something you say? And then is this kind of like something that the team also adapts? Because you guys, the last several years, you haven't lost a lot of back-to-back games. It seems like you're pretty level as a team.
Right. I'd like to say, super early on in my career, it was the frustrations, it was the highs, the lows. It was just one of those rocky, the emotional play of a younger Cam. But in that, you seeing the vets, seeing how great veterans work, and you see the work ethic, from Drew Brees, from John Vilma, from Will Smith, from all the greats that we played with when I was younger, from Big Baby Rogers back in the day. It was just the idea that, again, this is not a 12-week college season or 13-week college season. It's a 16-game season, and now 17-game season. It's just that the continuity of being ever constant is really what sort of brings the great ones out. It's knowing that you may have a bad play, but you might necessarily not have a bad game. And after that game, it's never as good as you think it is, it's never as bad as you think it is, and there's always ways to correct and improve. And that's sort of where you get the buy-in from probably starting off saying it to then fully actually understanding it to then believing it.
Rod Walker. Hey, Cam, I know it's not a whole lot of film out on him, but what have been your impressions of Mac Jones?
He's a part of the Bill Belichick system. This is something that is a methodical offense. They have playmakers, and at the same time, they don't live and die by a deep ball. They're going to be very even and sort of try and identify our weaknesses and try and attack those. So as a defense, it's more on us and what we do, as it is every week, about trying to be better than we were the week before. And I do think, with a couple of players popping back up this week, hopefully, we'll be even stronger against the run than we were last week. And I think we had a pretty decent showing against the run, if we go by numbers anyways.
Lou Johnson.
Hey, what did you think of Peyton Turner's debut last week?
I think he showed a lot of energy. He showed a lot of grit, and he's got plenty of room to develop and grow. Without just diving into referees and erroneous roughing the passers, I think that we do have potential there. And, as the season goes on, we'll know exactly what we have. I like the way he played.
And how hard is it to, you kind of touched on it there, but it seemed like you guys had a couple calls with the just going in low on a quarterback. How hard is that to have that in the back of your mind when you're on the field?
Quarterbacks have red jerseys on in practices. At this point, they're going to have red jerseys on during games as well. And that's just the game we play in at this point. We might as well just attach a flag to their hips and just go off that. But no, seriously, this is just a part of the game that we have to play. I think it sucks that, from 11 years ago when I first entered the league, when you saw, quarterbacks sort of being fearful of being hit in the blind side, to now knowing that they're fully protected. It sort of takes away from the game, but that's the game that we're in right now. This is something we have to overcome. We've got to apply more pressure as the weeks go on.
Rod Walker. Hey, Cam, I think it was last week Mario posted something on social media about the Juice Boys. Is that a name that you all have sort of embraced, and if so, what's kind of the origin of it?
Man, I don't even know where that came from, but it's big juice. The defense got to bring the juice, got to have the energy, and I'll let Double D talk about where that even came from. It probably came from him and Quan, but next thing, it's been adopted already. Just is what it is. But we have to bring the high energy each and every play. You got to bring your own juice.
Amy Just.
Yeah, back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. How can you play physically and eliminate the possibility that you could get flagged? Is there a way that you can avoid that?
Look, we have to play fast, and if anything, a penalty, we have to play faster. We'll correct penalties on tape, and we'll try and get better from that. But what you can't do is play with fear in your heart in this game. I mean, especially as a defense, when you're trying to attack an offense, it just is what it is. We had a Malcolm Roach hit on Christian McCaffrey. That was a phenomenal, interior defensive lineman getting out the stack and making a great effort play. And it resulted in a penalty, and I still don't understand it. But again, when you have guys running as fast as they can, sometimes you're not going to be able to place whatever heads-up perfect football it is. And the stipulation of that is just it's a part of the game. At that point you only can make yourself play faster. When I think about the rules implied, at the end of the day, we still play football. People still have to get tackles. People still have to get hit. We're going to have to live with some of these and learn from a lot of them. But when you have something like 12 penalties from this last game, 11 penalties from the last game, over 100 yards worth of penalties, that's something you have to clean up. That's on the defense, that's on the team, that's on us. And that's something that has been addressed and we have to focus on for our next game. We were our own worst enemies, and we can't be that every game.
Now that you've watched film once, twice, a couple times, what can y'all do moving forward to kind of fix what happened last week?
I think just communicate and limit the self-inflicted wounds. I think we had a lot of penalties and early in drives that kind of killed us. Communicating and just from the start of the play, and that attributes to the penalties. That contributes to the penalties. We had false starts and just trouble getting lined up, things like that. So we gotta do us, clean up the self-inflicted things.
How good was it to get Coach Thomas back at practice today?
It was good. He was excited to be back. I mean, everybody was excited to have him back. So just we gotta keep working, and it's good to have him back.
John Hendricks.
Hey, Alvin. Just curious to get your thoughts on the Patriots defense, just kind of seeing what you've seen from them on film and kind of what are some of the challenges going against.
I think they're disciplined. You don't see a lot of busted coverages. You don't see a lot of mental errors. They show a lot of different looks, but I don't think it's one of those teams that show a lot of looks and doesn't do them well. They show a lot of looks, and the looks that they show, they play them well. So I think they're pretty sound in what they do, and they know what they want to do to try to get an offense off kilter. So we have to be good in our communication when we see these different looks, and we got to be good in executing and knowing what we want to do and what we have schemed up to combat those looks.
Mike Reese.
Alvin, nice to speak with you. Thanks for taking the time. I want to take you back to coming out of college. And if I remember, Coach Belichick took a trip down to campus to meet with you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about that visit?
Oh, Coach Belichick was cool. Obviously decorated and respected throughout the league. And, he was just pretty matter of fact, just asked a couple questions. And I forgot if we sat down classroom or I don't know. I forgot. But, he was a cool guy. Obviously, they ended up playing for him, but, that was that.
Did he work you out on that visit? And what do you remember about the workout?
He did not.
Rod Walker.
Hey, Alvin, you go back over the past 4 years, the Saints have always, you lost one of those first 2 or 3 games, but then you've been able to just reel off this winning streak. How have y'all been able to just always do that, you feel like? What's been the key to doing that?
Understanding what the standard is around here. I think, we're one of those teams where we usually I feel like we're usually the aggressor. So when you poke a bear or you punch a bear, you get bit back. So I think it's football. It's the NFL. It happens. You lose games, but I think we do a good job of responding around here. So I think that's just what we plan to do. Go out and respond and do what we got to do and do what we want to do, and that's win on Sundays. Nobody likes losing. I don't like losing. I don't like the way it feels. So.
Luke Johnson.
Yeah, kind of related to that. I mean, y'all barely lost any back-to-back games since you've been here. What do you think that is? I mean, is it just because y'all are a good team with a bunch of veterans, or is there something kind of beyond that?
I think that's the only part. Me personally, and I think I can speak for everybody else. I think that's where we get cocky at, and where we get our where we kind of have an ego. I think we take pride in being able to win games and not lose very often. So that's the only I take pride I take pride in that. I don't see us going out and losing 2 games, 3 games in a row. If we lose, all right, cool. It's the NFL Sunday, whatever. Anybody can lose any given Sunday, but I guarantee you we win the next game.
Do you notice a difference in Sean after a loss, or is this just a process thing where y'all are kind of the same regardless?
I think we're the same. I don't think we go and start trying to change everything and figure out a way to switch up our process. Our process is always the same, but I know Sean takes it personal. For sure. I know he takes it personal when we lose, just like I take it personal, just like DeMario takes it personal, Cam, all the leaders on this team. And I feel like when we lose, we want to, whatever the next game is, the next 10 games, we want to let people know we're not losers. At least that's how I feel. Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.
Rizzy said last week, the biggest thing for you, he thinks, is consistency. Just curious what you think of through 2 weeks, how you fared in that part.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of good, but also stuff to work on. I think at this level, consistency is kind of the number one thing that separates you from the rest of the pack. So I'm just constantly fighting for that, fighting for some consistency. Both in practice and then obviously translating that to game day.
Amy Just.
Yeah, I knew you hit some 70-yard punts in college. How do those, I guess, compare to the 60, 59-yarders that you hit last week?
Yeah, a lot of those long punts in college include roll yardage. So, air yardage, probably 59, 60 is what I maxed out in college. So, to hit those first couple games of my career has been great. And I think, obviously, if you do that every time to be awesome, that's not really realistic. So, making sure to, have, if I miss hit a ball, for it not to be catastrophic. And that's kind of the key for me, the key to be consistent. And, those big punts will come, but that's not always what the product's going to be with weather and stuff like that. So just being able to be, consistent with my process is going to be really key for me.
Yeah, what does a game like last week do for you when you hit 2 really long punts and then you pin another one inside the 7, I think it was?
Yeah, I think it does a lot for my confidence. Being back after a whole year not playing a game, I think just kind of getting back into the flow of things, figuring out different wind patterns and stadiums we play in. It's a lot different than, a practice field where wind is coming from a direction that is kind of known. Wind in these stadiums kind of swirls around a lot, so, kind of getting used to that again has been great for my confidence, and obviously looking forward to taking on another challenge up in New England.
Luke Johnson.
Hey, what's your impressions of what Ty Montgomery's done as a gunner? I think he's got tackles on 5 of your punts or something.
Yeah. If you're playing opposite JT Gray, you're going to get a lot of action, a lot of single coverage, and Ty's done a great job for us, and he's going to be a key to our success all year long. Just kind of continue to keep doing what he's doing. He's getting singled a lot, like I said, and he's beating up those guys on the outside, and obviously really, really fast. So just playing really, at a high tempo has really helped me out, helped me be confident where I'm placing the ball, and we'll really need that from him for the rest of the season.
Rod Walker.
Hey, Blake, you talked about, studying the wind pattern in different stadiums and all that. How involved is that? I mean, are you like a meteorologist, or is it like just, 5 minutes, or how much time goes into it?
Yeah, I mean, we have a general idea going into the game what the wind's going to be like. I think, when you get to the stadium, the wind's usually opposite of what the forecast is. So the wind actually bounces off, certain walls. Whether you have 2 decks to the stadium, it really makes a difference. So you really don't know until you're there. For example, Jacksonville, there was a wind kind of from corner to corner, but the wind was completely opposite on the field. So you kind of had 2 sandwich levels of wind that were completely opposite of each other. So there's just little nuances with that, and being able to kind of navigate that throughout the game.
Is that something that you did in college too, though? I mean, you knew.
Yeah, it's something that every punter has to deal with. Especially I played up north. It's windy and cold most weeks out of the year, unless you get lucky. So, coming up to New England, I think is a great challenge for me and our unit. So, looking forward to taking that on.
I have one more question I want to ask you about. How's the chemistry been with Zach, just as far as his long snapping and you holding on that? How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been awesome. No hiccups so far. Don't really anticipate there being any. And, Algic's come in and done a great job, trusting me, trusting Zach to kind of, give him what he expects to get out of us. And that's a great hold, a great operation. So Zach's been great on punt snaps, field goal snaps, and is really our leader right now. So couldn't be doing a better job.
Luke Johnson.
Hey, Blake, do you have any nerves going into week 1? I mean, not only was it your first NFL game, but it was, your first time playing in a game that mattered in a year and a half. How did you kind of feel going into that? Did it take the first month to kind of get butterflies out or anything?
Yeah, I think, I always have some, if you call it nerves, you call it nerves, butterflies before games. I think that kind of, shows me that I'm ready to play. It comes down to kind of channeling that the right way. And that's how I kind of use it mentally for myself. And, Jacksonville was a great experience. We didn't punt the whole first half. So I really felt comfortable going into the first punt, having sat there for 2 hours. So that was definitely good for my confidence, getting a hold under my belt or 2 in the first half. And I think as the weeks go on, confidence just kind of continues to build and those nerves kind of fade.
Amy Just.
Yeah, as you said in your tweet, or maybe it was Will, I don't remember, but Thomas Morstead signed with the Jets last week. How happy are you for him that, his journey's not over?
Yeah, I always told people that I wasn't over, and I'm glad that, he found another spot to, drop some bombs. And hopefully we can see him later in the season. Hopefully he's still around, and I'm just really happy for him. I saw he had 1 punt last week. Hoping we only punt once against New England also. But I'm just really happy for him. I reached out to him via text message and then put out a tweet also. And, he was such a good mentor to me. He was always a great, human being first and foremost. And, always wishing continued success.
Any other questions for Blake? I think that's it, man. Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.